Today we got 3 brand new heroes in the game. We got Fendrich, we got Hitoshi, and of course we got Ashlynn. Without wasting any more time, let's dive into their heroes. Let's do a first look and look at all of their abilities. Now, the first one is gonna be Fendrich. Fendrich is actually in the Free Cities Empire. He is in the Free Cities faction, and for me, he is grayed out for the moment. And he is actually looking kind of cool. I like what they did. Kind of an interesting design. Not really my thing, but I like the creativity, right? He still looks good. He still looks unique. I'm sure there are people that will like him. So starting off with Fendrich, as you can see, Fendrich is a legendary offensive hero, and his attack is S tier. Now, looking at his trait is called Energy Amplification. Gains 1 rage each time a team member casts their basic ability, capped at 8 rage. On the next basic ability, consumes all rage to increase the ability damage by 10% for every rage consumed. And that is on his trait, which is very, very nice. That is not an active skill, right? So once he is ascended, he gains 5 rage at the start of the battle and 1 rage each time a team member casts their basic ability. So I'm already thinking banker with a William comp, with Jacob, with anybody who uses their basic ability very frequently. This is also capped at 8 rage. On the next ability cast, consumes all rage to increase the ability done by 15% for every rage consumed. And he already starts with 5 rage at the start of the battle, so that helps him to acquire more rage quickly. Now that is his trait. Let's go ahead and look at his basic, see what he's got going on. Leaping Smash is the basic. Gains attack up for 1 turn and deals 110% damage to the enemy. Attack up is of course plus 30% attack. Moving over into the Steam Engine, which is his passive, increases max rage by 1. 2-round cooldown. That is interesting the way that they wrote that. Increases max rage by 1. There is a 2-round cooldown. Max rage can be increased by up to 9. So that's kind of interesting. The longer the fight goes, the more his max rage becomes, right? Up to 9. So he does increase his max rage, and then he uses it all to boost his damage. And if we look at his ultimate, Raging Slash is his ultimate. Deals 200% damage to 1 enemy. Each cast of this ability reduces its cooldown by 1 turn to as low as 2 turns. That's kind of an interesting thing. This ability is considered a basic ability, so his ultimate is actually considered his basic ability, which is very interesting. I don't think we've seen that in the game just yet, and that works really well with his trait, because he gains 1 rage each time a team member casts their basic ability, and he is a team member. If he's in your team, he should be a team member, and considering that they are counting his ultimate as his basic, that will also help him gain rage as well. So he's kind of his own team there. That's very interesting. Now, taking a look at his trait, I'm actually curious to see if he's going to be good in the banker. But taking a look at his appearance, he looks very steampunk to me. Now, I'm not super familiar with steampunk. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if this is a different design than I'm looking at. But at first glance, he does look very steampunky. And I like the look. I like the big look with the big axe. He's got giant shoulders, and he looks like he's ready to do some work. All right, so that is Fendrich. Let's move on to Hitoshi. Next up is Hitoshi. Now, Hitoshi is going to be under Visitors by Sea. He is an epic, he is an offensive hero, and he looks really cool. Very simple look, but he is a ninja. He doesn't need a whole lot of stuff going on, right? So he's got hidden weapons packed away in places you don't want to know. So Hitoshi is an epic. The good thing is that he is an epic, and he's a lot easier to get, to summon, and to ascend because he's an epic, right? And he's most likely easier to book as well. So looking at Hitoshi, first impressions, has a very simple ninja design. He's a ninja, doesn't really need anything else. He's got the giant 2-handed sword, which is all broken up on the ends there. Looks like he's used it quite a bit. Looking at his stats, looking at his base stats, his attack is A tier, his crit rate is A tier, so he doesn't have fantastic basic stats, but hopefully what he lacks in his base stats, he will make up in his kit. Looking at his trait is called Art of Ninjutsu. His crit rate is increased by 30%. Gains 4 rage. That is amazing. I can't get over that. Crit rate is increased by 30%. That is amazing. So right there, you need 30% less from gear. He is that reminds me of Zatlux, because Zatlux is the only other hero that I know of, that I'm aware of, that only needs 70% crit rate. And here we have another one. So Hitoshi, his trait gives him 30% right off the bat. He gains 4 rage at the start of the battle. On enemy kills, resets his ultimate ability cooldowns and gains 1 rage. Man, that is cool. So he reminds me of very much like Zatlux. We'll have to see what the rest of his kit looks like. Looking at his Ascension effects, his crit rate is increased by 30%, gains 4 rage at the start of the battle. On enemy kills, resets his ultimate abilities cooldown and gains 1 stack of attack up, capped at 5 stacks and 1 rage. So as he kills enemies, he gets 5 stacks of attack up. Attack up is increased by 10%, capped at 5, meaning his attack goes up by 50%. So right there, he's going to be really good in Arena. He's most likely going to be a fantastic farmer, and I'm really curious to try him in Queen of Tides in place of Zatlux, maybe with Zatlux's gear, and see if he can be the killing machine that Zatlux is. Right now, it looks like he is. Now, moving over to his basic is called Blade of Malice. Deals 130% damage to 1 enemy. Damage is increased by 30% if this ability triggers a critical strike. So if he has 100% critical strike, in this case he only needs 70. So if he is crit capped and he has 70% critical strike, his damage is increased by 30%. So you definitely want to cap him. You want to crit rate cap him to get not only more damage off his basic, but that also allows you to focus more on his crit damage because you don't need as much crit rate. Moving over into his special, Crimson Slash is his special. It's on a 3-turn cooldown. It deals 165% damage to 1 enemy. Also deals bonus damage based on the target's max health if the attack triggers a critical strike. And of course, you want him critical strike capped. You want him crit rate capped. And with his passive, that is going to be very easy to do. Moving on to his ultimate. His ultimate is called Lethal Dart. It's on a 4-turn cooldown. He consumes all the rage that you've generated through the fight to deal 130% damage to all enemies and recover health equal to 30% of the damage dealt. Each point of rage increases his damage by 20%. Launches a bonus attack with the special ability if the target is killed. So he is going to be good in Arena right there. He's also going to be a very good farmer from what I can tell. If you're farming for gear, if you're early game farming for gear, or if you're farming for glyphs or for jelly, he's going to be good adventure farmer, right? I have yet to try him in Void Tower. That remains to be seen. One place I think he is going to be very good in Queen of Tides. I am going to try him. He is most likely going to be good in Queen of Tides because of his health sustain, because of his health recovery that he deals on his ultimate. And you compare him with somebody like Jonathan for the added shields. Last but not least, moving over to Ashlynn. Now, Ashlynn is going to be in the Lacer faction, and she is actually the best looking of this patch, at least in my opinion. I think she looks amazing. And then the change from light to dark is, of course, awesome. She looks very good. I like her design. I like everything that they've done with her. Extremely creative, and I think lots of you will share my sentiment. Now, if we look at her, she is a legendary offensive hero. Her health is S tier, right? Her base stacks on her health is S tier, and that is really good news for us because she is a health-based hero. Now, looking over at her trait, moving into her trait, Mystery of Magic is her trait. And now that she is finally in-game, we no longer have X percentages as they put in the patch, right? Going over the patch notes yesterday, all we had was a bunch of X percentages and we didn't have final numbers. Today, we actually have final numbers. So when an enemy restores health for others, Ashlynn reduces their healing effects by 50% and gains magic sparks equal to the healing amount capped at 50% of her base max health. So the higher health she has, the higher the cap is. She gains 1 bonus turn upon reaching max magic sparks and has a 25% chance to gain 1 bonus turn when an enemy removes negative effects up to 2 times per round. So it looks to me like as long as the enemy is removing negative effects and as long as she's getting magic sparks, she will take multiple turns. Looking at her ascension effects, for the most part, it is the same. When an enemy restores health for others, Ashlynn reduces their healing by 50% and gains magic sparks equal to the healing amount capped at 60%. So we get a little bit of a higher cap there. And she gains 1 bonus turn upon reaching magic sparks, which of course will take a little bit longer because her cap was a little bit higher. And she has a 35% chance to gain a bonus turn when an enemy removes a negative effects up to 3 times per round. So she can take up to 3 turns per round. So that is kind of interesting. I think that is new. That's something we haven't really seen. There's a lot going on there, and I'm really curious to see if we can pull her and play around with her. Now, moving over into her basic, Arcane Raid is her basic. Deals 130% damage to one enemy, applies silence to them for 1 turn, and gains magic sparks equal to 15% of her max health. Damage scales with this hero's max health. So as I mentioned before, she is a health hero, and you have to put a bunch of health into her. Now, if you notice, she does change forms from light to dark. And this is the dark ability. When she is in her dark ability form, she does silence. And then if we go to the light side, her light side is called Magic Poker. So one skill, depending on which side she's on, whether she's light or dark, switches her skill. Magic Poker, when she is in light form, deals 130% damage to an enemy, 60% splash damage to the rest, which is kind of cool, especially on a basic ability. She deals splash damage. And she gains magic sparks equal to 15% of her max health. Damage is increased by 50% at max magic sparks. Moving over to her dark form special, that is called Supernova. It's on a 2-turn cooldown, which is really short. Switches form, removing 2 negative effects, and gains 1 bonus turn. So this is on a 2-turn cooldown, which means you can switch form manually to target what skill you want, right? She also sacrifices 40% of max health in exchange for bonus attack. So that is something you have to be very careful with. 40% max health is a very big sacrifice. It is extremely, I think it's actually too big of a sacrifice. So we have to be very, very careful with using the Supernova and switching forms. However, you do get bonus attack for this. Now, this is on her dark form side. And if we go ahead and look at the light side is called Night Witch, which is her light ability. Switches form, removing 2 negative effects, and gains 1 bonus turn. Also recovers 30% of max health and gains shield for 2 turns. Shield strength scales with this hero's max health, right? Her HP. So her HP needs to be very, very high because her shield will scale with her HP as well. And she will also recover 30% of her max HP. So the higher max HP she has, the better. That is kind of cool. I like the light side switching into the night form, I guess, when she's switching from light into the night side, which is the Night Witch. She'll remove 2 negative effects and gain a bonus turn, so you can go again. Moving over to her dark form ultimate, that is called Shadow Storm. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, and it's got some interesting things going on. Deals 130% damage to all enemies, applies a stun to the primary target for 2 turns, and applies a defense up 2, which is plus 50% to herself and the ally with the highest attack. Now, there's a couple of things going on here. She does apply stun to the primary target for 2 turns. Whether we need focus or not remains to be seen. The way that I'm reading is she does not need focus, but she will most likely need focus for the stun to land. That I am very, very curious, because if we don't need focus on her, that's going to be really good. However, she does have silence, so she will most likely need some focus as well with her max HP. All right, so looking further down the list, if you do end up booking her, which might be a good idea, she additionally applies defense up 2 to the ally with the highest attack for 2 turns. So the way that I'm reading that, without all of the books, she applies defense up to herself and the ally with the highest attack. And then when she has all of the books and she has an unlocked cap mastery, the level 8, when she unlocks the level 8 of this mastery skill, she will apply defense up to 1 more ally. So that is the way that I'm reading that. So she will target herself plus 2 more allies, making that 3 people, right? So that is kind of interesting. And if we go ahead and look at the ultimate on her light side, her ultimate is called Poker Rain. Consumes all magic sparks to deal 130% damage to all enemies while ignoring 50% of their defense, and applies increased damage taken. So that is very, very interesting. She ignores 50% of their defense and applies increased damage taken to the primary target. Whether she applies the increased damage taken before she does damage or not, that remains to be seen. The way that this is worded is she will do the damage and then she will apply increased damage taken for the heroes going after her. And that happens to the primary target for 2 turns. It's on a 4-turn cooldown. Damage scales with the amount of magic sparks consumed. So the more magic sparks you have, the higher damage she will do. And is increased by 100% against bosses. Now this is very, very good. I don't know if we have any other heroes that actually increase their damage fighting against bosses. This ability cannot be dodged or deflected. So to land increased damage, she does not need focus because it cannot be dodged or deflected. And if you are one of the lucky people to fully book her, damage gained from Magic Spark is increased by 20%. So this looks like a very, very good skill here on the light side. So with Ashlynn, you have your choice, whether you want to run her on the light or dark, or if you want to switch her midway, because you can actually get some healing. If you are struggling, you can get some healing and a shield. With the Night Witch special, right, you recover some health, get yourself a shield, and take 1 more turn. And then you can go into using some of her other abilities. So if you are struggling, go ahead and use the Night Witch, heal up, gain yourself a shield, and then put up defense up to give her a little bit more tankiness, a little bit more survivability. There are lots of ways to run her, and I'm really, really excited to see what all of you do with her, what the comps she goes into, and I'm really excited to see everybody's different teams and everybody's different ways of using her, because there are lots of different ways to use her. So at a first look, she looks definitely my favorite hero so far. Let me know in the comments below who you like, if you are excited for any of the heroes. We had Fendrich, we had Hitoshi, and then of course Ashlynn, who looks my favorite. So leave me a like and a subscribe down below. Also, let me know in the comments who your favorite hero is and where you are planning to use them if you get them. Also, for more videos like this, check out the top right.